Have you ever wondered what really happened the night the Red Sea split? We all know the famous story: Moses, the Israelites, a desperate escape, and a miraculous parting of the waters. But there's so much more to this event than what we see in movies. Today, we're diving deep into the biblical account to uncover the details, the drama, and the profound meaning behind one of history's most incredible moments. This isn't just a story about a miracle. It's a story about fear, faith, and the very nature of God. Imagine you're an Israelite. For 430 years, your people have been enslaved in Egypt. You've witnessed 10 devastating plagues, each one a direct challenge to the gods of the most powerful empire on earth. The final heartbreaking plague has just passed, and Pharaoh, with his nation in ruins, finally tells you to leave. As Exodus chapter 12 tells us, about 600,000 men on foot, plus women and children, and a mixed multitude of others, began their journey out of bondage. The excitement must have been electrifying. Freedom, at last. However, their journey wasn't a straight shot to the Promised Land. Instead of taking the shorter coastal route, the way of the Philistines, God intentionally leads them south towards the Red Sea. Exodus 13:17-18 explains why. God knew that if they faced war too early, they might get scared and want to return to Egypt. He was protecting them, even when his path seemed illogical. He even leads them by a pillar of cloud during the day and a pillar of fire by night, a constant, visible sign of his presence. But then, things take a terrifying turn. Back in Egypt, Pharaoh's grief turns to rage. "What have we done that we have let Israel go from serving us?" he cries. He gathers his army, 600 of his best chariots and all the other chariots of Egypt, with officers over all of them. This was the most formidable military machine of the ancient world, thundering across the desert in pursuit. Now, put yourself back in the sandals of an Israelite. You're trapped. In front of you is the vast, impassable Red Sea. To your sides are desolate mountains and wilderness, and behind you, you see the dust cloud of Pharaoh's approaching army. The sound of thousands of horses and chariot wheels grows louder and louder. Freedom suddenly feels like a trap. The joy of liberation evaporates, replaced by pure terror. Exodus chapter 14 describes their reaction. They cry out to Moses, their words dripping with sarcasm and despair. "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Can you feel their panic? Their faith, which had been bolstered by 10 miracles, crumbled at the first sign of real danger. It's a very human reaction. It's easy to believe when things are going well, but true faith is tested when your back is against the wall. This is where Moses steps up. While everyone else is panicking, Moses stands as a beacon of calm and faith. He tells the people something absolutely radical. "Do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Imagine hearing those words, "Be still," while a superpower army is about to descend upon your families. It's a command that goes against every human instinct, but it's a profound lesson. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop trying to solve the problem yourself and let God take control. Then, God gives Moses a simple, yet powerful instruction. "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground." Notice the sequence here. God tells them to move on before the sea has even parted. They have to take a step of faith to walk towards the very obstacle that is causing their fear. And then, the moment of awe. First, the pillar of cloud that had been leading them moves to the rear, positioning itself between the Israelites and the Egyptians. On one side, it's a dark cloud, plunging the Egyptian army into confusion and darkness. But on the side facing the Israelites, it continues to be a pillar of fire, giving them light all through the night. God creates a divine barrier, holding back the enemy. Then, as Moses stretches his hand over the sea, God does the impossible. The Bible says, The Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind all that night and turned the sea into dry land. This wasn't a quick, magical poof. It was a process. An all-night, mighty wind blowing with such force that it carved a path through the water. The waters were divided, forming a wall on their right and on their left. Can you even picture that? Walking on a dry seabed, with towering walls of water held back on either side. The ground beneath your feet is firm. The wind is still howling. The pillar of fire lights your way. You're walking through the very heart of the sea, a place no human was ever meant to walk. It would have been terrifying and exhilarating all at once. For the entire night, men, women, children, and their livestock file through this impossible corridor. The Egyptians, blinded by their rage and the supernatural darkness, charge in after them. They see a path and they take it, not realizing they are entering a trap set by God himself. As the last of the Israelites reaches the safety of the far shore, dawn begins to break. From the pillar of fire and cloud, the Lord looks down on the Egyptian army and throws them into a panic. Exodus 14:25 says, "He clogged their chariot wheels so that they drove with difficulty." The sands of the seabed, once dry for the Israelites, turned to mud, bogging down the heavy Egyptian chariots. The soldiers, finally realizing they are fighting against God, not just people, cry out, "Let's get away from the Israelites!" The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt. But it's too late. God commands Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen." Moses obeys. As the sun rises, the sea returns to its full depth. The towering walls of water collapse, crashing down upon the entire Egyptian army. The Bible is starkly clear. Not one of them survived. In the morning light, the Israelites stand on the shore and see the bodies of their former masters washed up on the sand. The threat is gone. Not just defeated, but completely and utterly annihilated. The army they feared, the power that had oppressed them for centuries, was destroyed in a single moment. The Bible says that when the people saw the Lord's great power, they feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in Moses, his servant. Their terror of Pharaoh was replaced by a holy awe and reverence for God. They had not only been saved from something, they had been saved for something. A new relationship with the God who fights for them. This event became the defining moment for the nation of Israel. It was the ultimate demonstration of God's power and his covenant love for his people. It's referenced throughout the rest of the Bible as the ultimate proof that nothing is impossible for God. So what's the takeaway for us today? The story of the Red Sea crossing is more than just an ancient miracle. It's a timeless lesson in faith. It teaches us that God sometimes leads us into impossible situations, with a sea before us and an army behind us to show us his power in a way we would never see otherwise. It reminds us that our biggest breakthroughs often lie just on the other side of our biggest fears, and it calls us, in the face of overwhelming odds, to be still and watch the deliverance of the Lord. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's most epic nights. If you found this story as amazing as I do, hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the stories that shaped our faith in God and form the foundations of the Holy Scriptures.